Hello, Wheel Masters, and welcome back to Mastering the Wheel. Today we're on day 6 of our bankroll building challenge, so we're hoping to add another 10% of our risk amount to our bankroll stack. So the bankroll we're using for this particular strategy is $230, and we're hoping to make $25 to add to our stack. Now, the strategy we're going to be using is the same one that we have been. And for those of you who are new to the channel, or if this is your first day watching our bankroll building challenge, we're trying to build our bankroll up we started with a modest amount, only 200 well, the casino account had just over $300 in it, but basically the risk amount that we have for the strategy is $230. And I'll be using my program BetMaster to monitor the table, and the strategy that we're using today is we're betting on the hottest 18 numbers. Now, my program, as you can see, is tracking the heat right now, and the red numbers on the heat map are all the numbers that have been hitting more frequently than they're expected to. So every number is expected to hit on average 1 in 37, and so anything red has been hitting more than 1 in 37. And the idea about betting this way is, although roulette is more or less well, I mean, it is random, but what we're hoping to capitalize on here are potential biases, regardless of where they're coming from, whether it's the wheel or the dealer or some temporary condition that's causing the ball to land in a sector more than it usually does. That's what we're hoping to make money on today. And my whole philosophy when I play roulette is place your bets where the ball is landing. And everything being equal, whether it's random or some kind of bias, if at least you're betting where the patterns are, I think that may increase your chances of winning. So I've done fairly well playing this way, and so I'm showing you guys in this demonstration with the bankroll building challenge to see just how far we can go betting like this. So without further ado, we're going to get right into the video. But before we do, if you guys don't mind, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the like button. It does help out the channel a great deal, and I do very much appreciate it. So thank you so much for that. Now, just another thing too before we get started here and start placing some bets is what we're actually going to be doing is waiting for a specific moment to place bets, because also in my experience there are more opportune moments than others. Roulette more or less, well, being random, I think that there's still something to be said about waiting for particular moments to come in, because not only is roulette a game of random, but it's also a game of probabilities, right? And there's things that probably will happen and things that probably won't, sorry. And so what we're waiting for is kind of a rare event or something that's a bit of an anomaly. And so in the past videos, what I was waiting for was the system to fail. And what that means is the strategy that I'm using, I would wait for it to fail like virtually in the background. My program was keeping track of wins and losses as if we were actually placing bets, but we weren't. And when the system or the progression would fail virtually, that's when we would start placing real bets. And the idea behind that strategy is, a rare event is unlikely to happen 2 consecutive times, back to back. So that was the idea there, but today we're using a different entry point. Today we're going to be using this heat map, and I'm going to be manually activating the trigger. There's nothing in the logic that will do this, so I'm going to be waiting for the specific trigger. And what we're waiting for today is the table to become, I guess you could say, unusually hot, where there's more activity on numbers than there usually is. Now, what I find on average is typically there's going to be somewhere between 10 and 12 numbers that are red at any given time on the heat map. But when it becomes a little hotter, beyond that threshold of 12, like 13, 14, etc., I found that my win rate would tend to increase a little bit when I would bet on the hot numbers when the table was more active, heat-wise. So that's going to be the trigger that we use today. That shouldn't take too long, unlike the last trigger, which could take up to 400 or 500 spins sometimes. I find activating a trigger this way will usually take maybe up to half an hour or so, often less, before we see that kind of activity on the heat map. So I'm going to speed up the video right now, and just to get to the point where the heat map is showing 13 red numbers, and as soon as it is, I'll slow it right back down, and I'll jump right in here, and we'll see how we do today. All right, so, and while the video is sped up, I'm going to be playing a song from the BetMaster soundtrack, so check it out. I hope you like the music. This may happen so quickly that we don't get to listen to the whole song. I'll see how it goes, and in editing, I'll do what I have to do to make it fit. But anyways, enjoy the music, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes.
There's a moment in the chaos when the wheel starts to bend and the gamblers pray for mercy, but you see the hidden trend. If you hesitate, you're done. If you fear it, you descend. You don't gamble to survive, you deploy to ascend.
One spin, don't waste it. Let the triggers tell the path. That master in the shadows, turning fate into math. One chance, don't chase and make the systems do the test. When the wheel begins to tremble, you don't ask, you attack.
Okay, so we're back, and we now have 13 hot numbers on the heat map. So I'm just going to go ahead and start up the progression. Okay, so we're all set, and as soon as the next spin is detected, the program is going to start placing bets, and we'll see what happens. Hoping to win another session today, and here we go. Okay, so we now have 18 bets on the table, and we'll wait for the result. Now, the whole idea behind betting like this is, if there's more activity on the table, if numbers are hitting more frequently than they normally would, again, why not place bets on them, right? My whole philosophy, as you guys know, is to place bets where the ball is landing. And I've done fairly well doing that. I've got fairly large samples that show me, that my hit rate is slightly higher than it should be. Whatever the math would suggest. In this case, I'm supposed to be hitting, on average, 48.6% of the time, because that's the amount of the table or the wheel that I'm betting on. But when I bet on the hot sectors, whether it's individual numbers, streets, or corners, those tend to be the best bet types to be betting on the hot sectors. In like really large samples, the numbers show that I'm hitting slightly above where I'm expected to mathematically. Now, that said, I did say large samples. We're talking in terms like samples of like 10,000 spins. Okay, if you're using sample sizes like for example, red and black are expected to come up 48.6% of the time, and if you're looking at a sample size for red and black, you want to see how often they came up. Red might be 40% and black might be 60%, and maybe zero didn't come up at all. But when you look at a sample size as large as even just for even bets 3,000 spins, you'll see that in fact red and black did eventually balance out and came almost within a fraction of a percentage of what they're expected. So 48.6%, and that zero will have come 2.7% of the time, right? And so when you have large sample sizes like that, and you're consistently getting similar numbers, then that's kind of evidence of what your data is suggesting. So I've got many sample sizes of 10,000 spins where I've tested, betting on streets, corners, individual numbers, and it all suggests that betting on the hot sectors of the wheel, you do end up with a slightly higher hit rate than average. Now, just because I'm hitting slightly higher than average, that still doesn't guarantee profit, right? Because there's still that variation, and you run into those unlucky streaks that you can lose at and wipe out your bankroll. But just the point is, if you're hitting more frequently, it increases the amount of times that you're winning overall, right? You can still lose a game with a 75% average hit rate, right? But it just lets you know that where you're hitting is hitting higher than what's expected mathematically. That's all. And right now we're hitting pretty much right on target. We're at 50%, so we're doing okay. And yeah, doing okay. Now, Betmaster, this is the tool that I'm using. If you guys if this is your first time watching my videos, this is, as I said in the intro, it's a really powerful roulette tool. Gives you a perspective of the wheel that you wouldn't get otherwise, and really helps you, make, I guess you could say, informed decisions, right? It helps you understand what's happening. Now, whether it's what's happening is random or if there's a bias, either way, like I keep saying, bet where the ball is landing, and from what the numbers show me, it increases your chance of hitting what you're betting on, right? So that's how I like to play roulette. And if you're interested in more information about Betmaster, you can check it out at www.betmaster-data.com. And there's an FAQ there. Hopefully that'll answer all of your questions. But if you have any questions about Betmaster or roulette tools in general, by all means, leave them in the comments, and I'm always happy to answer questions about this. Roulette tools I think often get a bad rap because, I mean, honestly, when I was looking up different roulette tools to see what was out there, when I was developing Betmaster, I found a lot of stuff that, well, here's how you can tell the difference between a good roulette tool and a bad roulette tool. So a bad roulette tool will tell you that, like, put in the last five roulette results and it'll predict what the next number is. I mean, there's no data in the world that can predict the next number. Okay, that's impossible. So any roulette tool that says that, I mean, snake oil. That's all I really have to say about that. Nothing can predict the next number, right? So my roulette tool does not do that. What a good roulette tool should do is enhance your roulette experience. Give you a perspective of the table that you wouldn't get otherwise to help you make informed decisions. That's all, right? Now, mine has a few extra features that your average roulette tool doesn't have. It has this nice visual heat map, which you can also get for looking at streets, corners, splits, double streets. It's got all of the sectors. And another thing it has is a simulation mode, which I didn't see out there anywhere. I mean, there's kind of like these RNG type simulation modes built into some of these apps. But what mine does is it allows you to test strategies that you want to test, but at the live wheel. Like, you can come right here where we're playing right now, and without placing any real bets, you can use my program's simulation mode to place simulated bets, track wins and losses, and you can determine yourself if the strategy is worth playing after so many tests. That's how I always used to test strategies when I was doing this. I would let this run all night with a progression built in. It would just execute that progression over and over again. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd see the results, and I'd be like, okay, well, I lost 3 or 4 times that night and won twice. So what happened? Where did I lose? How did I win? And then I'm always trying to refine my game to get better. And what I actually noticed is now, just for a second, I'll back up a little bit. If you want to see videos on or how the simulation mode works, watch some of my past videos, and that's how I basically started this channel, because that was such a unique feature in the roulette world. I wanted to showcase that first. So watch some of my previous videos and you'll see how I use simulation mode at live wheels, and you'll get an idea of how it works. And what I've been able to determine through thousands of simulations was that there's opportune moments to start betting. And rather than just going in and randomly saying, like, turning on your computer and just jumping into a game and start placing bets, depending on the progression you're using, I mean, it's good to know where you are in the game. And I know it sounds a little bit odd because, as random as roulette is, there's actually a moment in the game that you can create an opportunity for yourself. And what I mean is, so the trigger that I was using with this particular strategy was the system failure trigger. As I explained in the intro, it waits for the progression to fail in a virtual environment. So the program tracks the wins and losses as if it were placing bets, but it's not. And then as soon as the progression fails, like loses at the top level, in this case level 7, then it starts placing bets. And the whole idea behind that kind of strategy and entry point is just the idea that when there's a rare event, right, like this system failing, for example, it has a mathematical failure rate of 1 in 216 spins. So on average, once every 216 spins, this system can expect to fail. Now, of course, that doesn't happen on cue. We're just talking about over a large spin sample. Like, if you looked at 10,000 spins with this progression, the first 1,000, it might have failed 7 or 8 times. And then the next 1,000, maybe it failed once. And then the third 1,000, maybe 5 times. So you can't really predict when the distribution is going to happen. But if you look at the spin sample, the large spin sample, the bigger picture, then you'll see that on average, it failed 1 in 216 spins. So that's really all. It just gives you an idea, right? So understanding that, and that being a relatively rare event, 1 in 216 spins, then often rare events don't happen back to back, right? That's why they're rare. For the same reason that, like, I know that all of you have probably seen a run of 10 or 11, and whether black or red, either way, maybe there was a green mixed in there, but ultimately a run of 10 or 11 that was not the opposite color. Um, and that happens often enough. You'll probably see it on average a couple times a day. But what you won't see very often is, say, like a run of 10 and then a black or a red and then another run of 10 of the opposite color. You don't see that very often. And that's because that's a rare event. I mean, the probability of that event happening at any given time is always the same. That never changes. But the chances of it happening back to back, just probabilistically speaking, are slim. So it's the same idea behind using the entry point that I use, the system failure. So the chances of the system failing back to back twice consecutively is less, right? Even though after it just failed, it still has, and I realize it still has a 1 in 216 chance of failing right now, even though it did just fail. But there's a reason why the system doesn't fail and then fail again and then fail again and then fail again. It's because probability breaks down at that point. It doesn't allow it to, because there's other events that also have probabilities of happening, which sort of interfere, I guess you could say, right? There's other events that are happening too. So that's the whole idea. Using probability to your advantage, finding these rare events and then betting against them. So, like, for example, if you waited for, say, a run of 10 or 11, and if you had, I mean, it would get expensive placing, say, 11 bets in a martingale style. But let's just say, for the sake of the story, you waited for a run of 10 and then you had 10 bullets to fire in your bankroll on a martingale. So wait for 10 to come, and then as soon as 10 comes, start betting. Say if 10 black came, start betting on red. The chances of that going to 20 red are extremely rare. Okay. I've only seen 20 of one color come once, and it wasn't in a run of 20, it was in a run of 23. Before that, the highest run I'd ever seen was 18, and I've seen 18 about 4 times now. So these are extremely rare events. So if you had 10 bullets to fire in your bankroll and you waited for a run of 10, then you would most likely win just about every time. And there's a minuscule chance that you'll fail sometimes, right? So that's using probability to your advantage. Now, there's no way of telling when that run of 21 is going to come that would wipe out your bankroll. And with 10 bullets to fire, I mean, to be honest, that's a pretty big bankroll. So maybe that one loss will wipe out all of the hard work that you did. So, that's the caveat. That's why I would never have 10 bullets on a martingale strategy. My limit on a martingale is 7, right? The bets just get too expensive after 7 bets. It's mathematically, it's not worth it. Like for this strategy, for example, we have 7 bullets to fire. This is a martingale, and the last bet is just over $100. I think $120, $122 or something. So if I wanted to go for that 8th attempt, my God, right? It just gets really expensive. And so as of now, like, my walkaway is always about 10%. That's my financial target, and if just to make up my bankroll, the amount that I have right now is 7 attempts. I have to win 10 consecutive sessions, right? Which, it's not that hard to do, but I mean, it's 10 consecutive sessions, right? Now, if I add just one more attempt to my bank, or to my strategy, 8 attempts, then I've just doubled the cost of entry. Not only that, but to make 10%, I now have to stay for longer to earn more, right? And if I lose, I have to win more to try to get it back. It makes everything, like, mathematically, it's more challenging. So that's why setting a hard limit as to how many attempts you have in your progression is really key. That's just part of bankroll management, right? So yeah. And speaking of management, I'm just watching our progression go right now, and it looks like we're on level 4. I mean, we're doing okay. We're still winning, but that win rate is fairly low, 42.1%. So that happens, and like I always say, betting on the hot numbers does not always make a difference. Okay, um, it can and it does sometimes, but not always. And this is clearly one of those cases. But like I said before, all we really need to do is hit 1 and 7 because we have a 7 level progression. So as long as we're hitting 1 and 7, we're okay. But let's see. So it looks like we lost that last one too. Ouch. Okay, so we're on level 5 now. So we have this one and 2 more attempts left at this progression. So I'm hoping this isn't the one that gives us our first loss, because I haven't even made 10 wins yet, and I'd like to at least break even with the bankroll before our first loss. Because losses are inevitable. It doesn't matter what roulette tool you're using. It doesn't matter. You're going to lose at some point. Avoiding them isn't possible. Minimizing them, I do find, is right. And that's where, like I said earlier, using an entry point, I've found has helped me minimize my losses. I've done better overall. So just some food for thought there. And there we go, guys. So we won that last one. We've reset back to level 1. So okay, I'd still like to do something about that win average, but I mean, whatever. As long as we walk away with profit, I'm happy. And the board is actually pretty hot right now too. Like we've got let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 30. There's 15 numbers that are showing red. So it's statistically on the averages that I've collected for this sort of data, this is a bit higher than average. On average, you'll typically find about 12 numbers that are red. And today we used 13 as our entry point. So I don't always play like this ever since I collected the data on both the system failure and using the heat map. The heat map came in slightly behind averages compared to the system failure. So I just go with what the math says works best. But the reason I'm doing this is because there are some Betmaster members who the casino that they use doesn't allow them to keep their page refreshed properly. Like if they go to do a page refresh while they're waiting for a trigger, it takes them back to the lobby. So they can't wait for 400 spins for an event to happen. But this event doesn't take very long to happen, right? And you can go back to the lobby and come back and then check your heat map and manually start the progression when the heat map reads what you want it to. So that's why I'm showing this. It's another way of entry. Yeah. So, but that said, actually, I was just talking to or listening to some chatter this weekend in the group chat on our Discord, and some of the guys have managed to keep their session live by waiting for a trigger. Rather than do a page refresh, which would take them back to the lobby, they've been placing minimum bets on the table to keep the wheel active. So that's been a really cool method to do that. So way to go. And now they're able to use triggers. And in fact, one of our members just posted a screenshot the other day. He had to wait. It was just over 400 spins for the system failure trigger to fire, and he was placing minimum bets. Every X amount of spins, however long his casino allows him to stay before it gives him an inactivity pause. And he posted his first screenshot of that win. So that was really nice to see. Yeah. So again, if you guys are curious about Betmaster or want to try it out, you can go get it at www.betmaster-data.com, and there's an FAQ there to answer any of your questions. And yeah, check it out. It really does enhance your roulette experience. I've been using the program obviously since its inception. This has been in development for 3 years now, and it's grown quite a bit since the first concept. But I couldn't imagine playing roulette without it. It's just I feel like I don't have my blanket on, if I play roulette without it. So it does really enhance the game. So I recommend a good roulette tool to everybody. If you're a data-driven player and you like to know what's going on at the table, this is absolutely the tool for you. It collects the data in so many ways. Yeah, and on all sectors of the wheel also. And when it, in compared to the casino only tells you, the hot five numbers and the cold five numbers. This program will give you information on, all of them, right? Including outside bets and hit frequency, like everything. So it's a ton of data. So check it out. And we're doing okay still. We are on level 2 and 1980. We have 3 more bets to win so that we can end this session and call it a day. Put another, there we go, down to 2 wins. Put another 10% in our bankroll. And the heat map, let's see, has it cooled down a bit? We got 5, 6, 7, 8. Still 15 hot numbers. And that win ratio, that win to loss ratio is still fairly low, but that's okay. Do notice, guys, with betting on this strategy, though, we have 0 as one of the numbers that we can make money on, because if 0 is hitting more frequently than it normally does, or hitting more frequently than it's expected to, 1 in 37, then it's considered hot, and the program will bet on it. So just something to point out. Another reason I think that this particular strategy does well is because our bets are dynamic, right? We're always moving around, which I think is an advantage. Like if we're betting on say red and black, like just even bets, and say we're betting on the hottest color. So in the red, let's say the red is the hottest color, there's going to be some red there that are hitting slightly more frequently than expected to. But then there's that whole pool of other numbers in the red that just haven't been hitting for whatever reason, right? And that goes with all of the bet types. Whether you're betting on streets, corners, there's always going to be that 1 or 2 numbers that just aren't hitting in that group for whatever reason. So that's why I really like this strategy, betting on the 18 most frequently hit numbers, because it doesn't leave out any of the numbers that haven't hit for a while, right? We're betting on the numbers that have been hitting for whatever reason they've been hitting. Again, I can't iterate this enough, that for whatever reason, whether it's random, whether it's some kind of bias or some other condition that's causing that to happen, just bet where the ball is landing, and over a large enough sample, you'll see that even if you're hitting 1 or 2% higher than normal, which isn't anything really to brag about, my numbers are a bit higher than that, but even if it is, just a couple percent higher than you're expected, those are wins that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, right? So that really is, my philosophy, and I've been, doing fairly well playing this way. And ouch, we're trying to get that last win, and we're on level 3 now. All right, well, hopefully this isn't the one, as in the one that keeps on losing. But we'll see. This hasn't been a great session, to be honest. We are, let me think. 17, 20, we're 30 spins into this right now, and typically I've won by now. A typical win for me is 25 on average. It goes to 30 sometimes, sure, but yeah, and now we're gonna go to 31. Actually, we're gonna go. That was 31. We're gonna go to 32 now. Moving on to level 4. This is our 3rd time in the progression hitting level 4. All right, let's get a win on this spin. Let's wrap this up now. And what are we going to get? A 9. Perfect. There's our hot number. So we managed to clean house today. Again, the casino couldn't stop us. We made another 10%, so $25 more added to the bankroll. So today we end at 514.80. And although I don't really consider this to be a great session because the win to loss ratio was kind of low, but hey, we walked away with some profit, and in the end, that's all that really matters, right? There's always going to be some kind of variation, and we can't prevent that from happening. And today it deviated down to the lower side. Other days I'm finishing with 70%, and that's another that's at the other end of the spectrum, right, where it's also a statistical anomaly. I don't always finish at 70% either. But anyways, another good session, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And again, if you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I do really appreciate it, and it helps out the channel a great deal. And on that note, I'm going to let you go for now. You guys take care. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
It's not luck, it's math. The count, watch the pressure build, then pounce. Same wheel spin, same house game, but knowledge shifts, who feels the pain? Bedmaster on, I don't guess tonight. I wait for the edge, then strike it right. They call it chance, I call it proof. Numbers don't lie, the math goes through.